Shalom Aleichem. It's our pleasure to be with you tonight at Manna from Heaven Ministries. My name is David Matthews, and we're going to begin to look tonight at the Torah portion for this week entitled Lech Lecha, and it's taken from Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 through chapter 17, verse 27. As I was beginning to prepare for this particular teaching, of course, if you're familiar with this Torah portion, you know that it's dealing specifically with Abraham, and this title is an admonition to Abraham to get out of the place where he was currently residing. And so I have a subtitle here, Abraham Goes Home. Well, if he's leaving a place, you'd think that he's leaving home. But in all actuality, you'll find that as he begins to leave where he's at, he's headed home, just like you and I. And so it begins to set a precedent or an example for you and I, just as surely as it did Abraham, because here is a typological picture. Abraham is walking out some things in this Torah portion, and we will not cover the entire portion tonight, but he's going to walk out some things in this Torah portion that you're going to follow suit in the days that are in front of you. Just as surely as Abraham was called to leave this place, called the place of his nativity or his birth, you're also going to be called to leave the very same location in the spirit realm that he did. Now, don't get upset and think that I'm trying to call you to leave your present city, your present home. Pay attention to what I'm going to share with you tonight, and you see that it has a spiritual application, if you will. The term Lech Lecha literally is interpreted as you go for yourself. Or more accurately, it could be translated, it's for your benefit that you go. And as I shared last evening, if the Father speaks to you and he says, look, it's for your best interests that you leave where you currently are, then I would think that you don't need to dilly-dally around and say, well, you know, I believe I can get a few more saved if I stay here. Hello, I have people say that all the time. Well, I'm staying over here in this location because, you know, I believe I'm going to get a few folks saved. Well, if Yahweh has spoke to you and told you to get out, then you need to make your exit because it's for your benefit. Yes. And you'll see that as we begin to get into this. Let's read chapter 12, verse 1. Now Yahweh had said unto Abram, notice his name at this moment is Abram, not Abraham, and you'll find out that anytime you have enjoined yourself into a covenant relationship, whether it's with the Creator or with someone else in the Oriental kingdom, in the Mideastern kingdom, whenever you would enter into a covenant, there was a mutual exchanging of strengths and weaknesses, a mutual exchanging of names. I became your benefactor and your protector, and you did mine as well. And here you find that Abraham is shortly going to be entering into a covenant with Yahweh, and so the natural conclusion is that Abraham and Yahweh exchanged names. Well, you find later his name is changed from Abram to Abraham with a hey inserted, and Yahweh inserts the portion of his name that has to do with his eternal existence, his eternal promise that he was, he is, and he is to come. And it sounds sort of like that the hey in the name of Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey is sort of pointing towards the Messiah, who was the beginning and the end as well. And if indeed there was an exchanging of positions, then Yahweh has to become the protector of Abraham. And if you look, and I believe it's in chapter 17, you see that Yahweh told Abraham, I will be your rear guard. I will watch over you. I'll be your protector. And you find the same thing, by and large, even in Western society, when you see two individuals, a husband and wife, enter into a covenant relationship, the husband becomes the benefactor, the protector. They exchange names, if you will, but we've been really divested from our understanding of covenant relationships. And if you really go back and look at it, this is considered a blood covenant. And there is, let me just make sure you understand this. In the Orient today, there's no record, and I have followed other people's teaching and looked at this, there's no record of a person breaking a blood covenant. The reason for that was because to break a blood covenant, it required your death. You understand what I'm saying? Let's continue to look. The word Lech Lecha comes from that phrase in the King James English where it says, get thee out. I want to read it for you. Now in the Hebrew language, Vayomer Yahweh El Avram, Lech Lecha me artseka, umi molodeteka Umibiet avika el haaretz asher arecha. I want to look at that word, Lech Lecha. I want to break it down for you, not only the Hebrew letters, but the numerical value or the numerical equivalent, the number that is assigned to those Hebrew letters, if you'll indulge me for a few moments. We looked at it last evening, but I've seen some things in there tonight I think will bless you as well. Lech Lecha is actually doubled. Lech and Lecha both have the lamed and kaf. Lamed, kaf. And so what you find, Yahweh's trying to emphasize something here in this phrase. Since there's no italicized words or punctuation marks, when he repeats something, he's trying to draw your attention to it. It's like a little red flag waving. And so in your present or future studies, if you'll remember, when Yahweh is repeating something, pay attention because he's trying to teach you in that repetition. The Hebrew letter lamed, the numerical equivalent of that is the number 30, and of course the number for kaf is 20. 30 plus 20 equals 50. 50 plus 50, the doubling, the lamed kaf gives you 100. Now that's important because 100 is a numerical value of the Hebrew word kaf. Lamed kaf, well, the Hebrew word kaf means the palm of the hand. And we were talking earlier this evening about Jim and Penny Caldwell, the Split Rock Research Foundation, and the fact that where they have done the vast majority of their research in Saudi Arabia around Mount Sinai, they found petroglyphs on a lot of the rock formations around the outside of Mount Sinai and all up and down that peninsula. And in finding that, they found what would be considered 3 dashes with a little parentheses on the outside of it, which was literally the palm of the hand. And then they would find the footprint etched around as well. And that was to remind us, as it reminded Abraham and reminded the children of Israel, that wherever the sole of their foot would trod, that Yahweh would give them the property. That's Deuteronomy 11:24. So here in telling him to go out, he's basically saying, if you will leave where you are, and naturally, when Yahweh tells you to leave something behind, then you would think, well, I'm about to lose something or I'm regressing. But in effect, if you will look, when Yahweh, when he tells you to make a change, it's always promoting you. Are you hearing me? It may be uncomfortable, but if change is coming, it may seem like you're having to strip something down. It may seem like you're having to trim fat off. But in effect, what's happening, Yahweh's promoting you. And by telling Abraham to leave the place where he had been born, and he's currently 75 years old, he's reminding him, if you do this, wherever you go from henceforth, wherever your foot is placed, I will give you that. I think if he said go, then I believe I would prefer to be prospered in my going. Amen? The number 50 is the numerical value of the Hebrew letter nun. And of course, nun means life and everything that pertains to it. If you have 50 plus 50, noon plus a noon, it spells out the word noon. And what we were sharing last night, this is also a hidden reference, a veiled hint, if you will, to one named Yehoshua, son of Nun, or Joshua, son of Nun. And Yehoshua meaning Yahweh's salvation, the son of life. And so here again, Yahweh's telling Abraham that if you leave this present place, there's something that's connecting you to the Son of Life and all of the life that's involved in this particular individual. Now, I also notice that the numerical or ordinal value, number 100, is assigned to the Hebrew letter kuf. And if you look at the picture of the Hebrew letter kuf, it's the back of the head. It's inferring what or who comes behind or who comes at the last. And so what he's telling him then, if you leave your present location, there's a divine connection here where I will give you every place where your foot is placed. If you will honor me, if you will be obedient to what I've called you to do, there is going to be a connection here that will tie you to the one who's coming at the end. And of course, we know he's referring to the Messiah. Now, as we begin to look at it, you see that by repeating this Hebrew letter nun, life and life, he's reminding us that he's increasing and he's strengthening, just like he promised that he would increase and strengthen the righteous king of Yahweh's people. And when I saw that, I was reminded of Psalm 72, verse 17. And if you'll indulge me, we'll look at that for just a moment. Psalm 72, verse 17. This verse is very pertinent to tonight's teaching because it is going to deal in the Hebrew. You won't see it in the King James English or any other translation, but you'll only see it here in the King James English. You'll see the names of some of the individuals that are principal characters in this Torah portion. Right here where it says, his name shall endure forever, Psalm 72:17. His name shall be continued. You see that word name? The word name in Hebrew is the word Shem. And so he's telling you, his name, Shem, shall endure forever. His name, Shem, shall be continued. Now you need to remember, when it's talking about Shem, of course we understand the person of Shem is going to be seen in this Torah portion. It's veiled and hidden to the casual student. However, we also understand that Shem was a personification, if you will, a physical manifestation of one who would bear the name throughout eternity. Are y'all following this thus far? Now, as I was saying earlier, that word nun, the nun doubled, spelling the word nun, is seen right here in Psalm 72, verse 17. And it's seen in the word, are y'all getting this? Yes. All right. It's going to slip up on you. It's seen in the word continued. This word continued. His name shall be continued. If you look at it in the Hebrew language, that word is written nun. And it's taking you back again and connecting the reference to what we just saw there in Lech Lecha. And by connecting the two, what's happening here is that Yahweh's indicating that Abraham will be doubly prospered. Being prospered would be good enough. But to be doubly prospered is pretty tremendous. I think I'd be obedient and leave the place post haste. Now, as I was looking at it, I was reminded that down through the lineage of Abraham, he had children, grandchildren, through the lineage of Jacob, and two of those children was Joseph and Ephraim. And if you look at both of those names, they mean to be something added or doubly fruitful, one made doubly fruitful. And so you can see that it's that personification, that promise, that prophetical declaration, I'll doubly prosper you, was seen in Joseph and Ephraim. And if you look at Joseph and Ephraim now, they're dispersed throughout the rest of the known world, and they have indeed fulfilled that prophecy that Yahweh made to Abraham. If Yahweh had not told Abraham to leave, or if he had told him and Abraham refused, the house of Israel would not be where it is today, and Yahweh would have had to make some other provision to redeem his people. That's how crucial it is for you to be obedient to the voice when it speaks and tells you to move and move now. Well, I'm a procrastinator. Never do today what you can put off until tomorrow. Hello, I know you've been there and done that. Well, so have I. Well, if you wait, you'll find that waiting causes you to miss the move of the Creator. There's only one time that I could find you're admonished to wait, and that's to wait on Him. And that word wait there is not a passive rendering of just sitting idly back. That word wait means that in the process of being there, you're ministering to Him. So there's no passivity. There's no idle time in your ministration to Him. Are y'all seeing this? From this phrase, Lech Lecha, we can surmise that Abraham is being promised if he's obedient. Turn to your neighbor and tell him that's the catchphrase. Do you know it says, if you're willing and obedient, you'll eat of the fat of the land? Aren't we being promised, I believe, in Hosea chapter 8, verse 11, that in the days ahead there is going to be a famine in the land, a famine of the word? And as I shared last night, if there's a famine of the word, there'll be a famine of everything that you need physically. Now, you need to understand that shouldn't make you afraid, because throughout history, whenever the people of Yahweh were caught up in a famine like the rest of the world, if they had right relationship with Him, Yahweh would provide for them in the midst of the famine, just like He has for you. He's providing for you right now.